one of the key areas for working in design research, in co-engaged research, in ESD as learning and researching things together, is how are we able to see this and pull the learning theory and the research theory together into a transformative model for ESD. And here I'm drawing on some work in Japan and in South Africa at the ELRC, where we're looking at heritage-activated learning towards more just and sustainable futures, drawing on the TMESD work of Chikamori et al. And the Vygotskian double stimulation. It's possible to also see the work on critical realism by Schudel and the work on transformative learning by Lotse Sitka and the ELRC team working with international partners. And what one does now is just come into the present and say, is it enough for ESD to be just dealing with presenting the children present-day contradictions as problems to be solved? Well, all of this research suggests not, that you can't just jump from the present into the future in terms of learning, but you have to take the past into account as to how the problems have developed. So here, heritage practices provide a useful indigenous knowledge foundation, student life experience, and ethical questions can all come to inform an understanding of how the past has produced the matters of concern that we're engaged with in the present. And here, the first stimulation in the learning transactions is the emerging contradiction, the problem and the challenge that we're confronted with. And the second stimulation is the evidence that we bring into this, dealing with this contradiction, whether it is a heritage practice like experience that is activated, or the mediating tools for this knowledge-based ethical thinking, where our knowledge ascends from the abstract, in other words, the concept, the word, the idea, the thought, to the concrete, the practical of what we can do with it, what it means to us. So here, it's possible then to look at handprint learning as a learning journey on pathways of ethics-led volitional action, where the processes produce through these four quadrants enable a startup story to lead into some sort of inquiry, to lead into some sort of analysis and some sort of action taking. And we look at this across a learning progression like this. In quadrant 1, we start with the real world heritage startup stories that include indigenous knowledge practices and concerns in relation to sustainability. This allows us to take the present into the past, and out of the past to speak to the present, where we can take up in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3 some sort of formative inquiry and analysis. And then we can move this into change projects through the learning task sequences that we develop for our learners. So this schema, this Vygotskian schema, after the TMESD work in Japan and the work that was done by Schudel in South Africa, what we're able to do is we're able to look at an important research design tool and an important conceptual tool for actually planning ESD as heritage-founded, learning-led change that we can work on out of a curriculum setting as a knowledge-activated process and as a reflexive process of change.